Masterworks presents the following origin. Big translation thanks to LIVIXBOBBIEX. The three goddesses created the earth, time, and life forms. Finally, they created the secret stones and entrusted both the world and relics to goddess Hylia. Her grace in turn entrusted the secret stones and magical abilities to her chosen tribe, the Zonai. These included Ultra Hand, Fuse, and Ascend. Some individuals had one ability, others multiple, while the most powerful mastered 3 or more. At some point, the green ore Zonite was unearthed in the depths and initiated mining to produce energy and technology. The tribe prospered on the surface, but following the creation of the floating stone, they applied said technology to raise their capital with most of their inhabitants to the sky. It is possible that in this moment, 3 members of the tribe swallowed their secret stones, draconified, and began their eternal watch over the sacred springs. Though now hidden in the sky, activity continued in the depths. In addition, it's theorized by Masterworks that the surface remnants of the Zonai might have gradually evolved into Hylians. The Zonai flourished in their sky capital and soon raised additional islands to expand their golden empire. This state of matter with deliveries of constructs to the sky and replacement of Zonai workers with automatons in the depths continued, along with granting 4 gifts, 1 each to the Rito, Gorons, Zora, and Gerudo, to help them control their environments and thrive. That was until a great crisis struck the race. Advanced warrior constructs that could be used for both good and evil. Forbidden technology, which due to tribal infighting brought the downfall and near complete demise of the Sky Zonai. The number of inhabitants of the tribe plummeted, to the point that the survivors were forced to return to the surface. Fortunately for them, they descended with their capital and the secret stones from the heavens. As a result, they were welcomed as gods at best and messengers of them at worst. In this reshaped surface society, the Hylians were below the dragons. Though deeply involved in the Zonai's Temple of Time on the Great Plateau, after all, both respected goddess Hylia, the original protector of the surface. By the generation prior to the founding of the Kingdom of Hyrule, only one couple would have non-mixed offspring. Their firstborn was a daughter, Minoru. She was followed by a son, Rauru. Both were raised traditionally and granted 2 of the 7 secret stones. Minoru turned her into the Spirit Stone, while Rauru, the Light Stone. This didn't come as a surprise, as Minoru began her research into Zonai technology and development of ranger constructs from an early age. Rauru, on the other hand, was an enlightened and born leader who was concerned with securing the peace after the dominant dragon tribe was gone. He sought to counsel in the Temple of Time, where he met the young, beautiful, and fearless Sonia, a Hylian priestess in whom Rauru saw an opportunity for the fertile Hylians to be the successors of the Zonai. The two made their vows by holding hands and married. Sonia became the master of the Time Stone and the queen of Hyrule's first king. Together they set out to build shrines of light to keep their kingdom of light safe from evil shades. All factions accepted the new reality, apart from the Gerudo, particularly their chief Ganondorf, the single male born every 100 years whom with dark magic summoned shades. It was to this time in the distant past that the Princess Zelda of Hyrule from the fallen kingdom of the distant future found herself in. She had time traveled to the past with Rauru's secret stone, which she had turned into a combined light and time stone. Nevertheless, the princess wasn't the only entity that ended up in the distant past. The tip of the Master Sword, broken by gloom, had also traveled, but to the depths. Here it was found by the Korok Kalamo, which upon being called by Fi, placed the shard inside one of the forbidden constructs, which then activated. Now, under a part of the Master Sword's control, it set out with Calamo. At the same time, Zelda presented herself to the King of Light and his queen, and how she, upon getting separated from Link, ended up in the founding area. With her secret stone, they escorted the descendants past one of their shrines back to the castle where Zelda, upon claiming her Sword of Light, met the royal chamberlain Lenalia. She had helped her dress and blend in before meeting Minoru. She presented the Purapad, learned about draconification and constructs before after a few weeks exploring the depths together with her brother. There, they discovered that a forbidding construct was missing. Not long after, Chief Ganondorf unleashed his Molduga in a frontal assault while ordering his army to attack from the back. Unwillingly, Artie led the charge to Hyrule Castle, but was ultimately helpless against King Rauru, Minoru, and Zelda. This failure and her initial hesitance to Ganondorf's orders landed a death sentence, a fate that was prevented by the mysterious construct and Calamo, who claimed one of the Gerudo's spears as payment. Still, this state fit Ganondorf, who could blame Artie for the attack, and himself swear fealty to King Rauru. 6 months of peace followed, where Zelda deepened her relationship with Queen Sonia, while also sharing more details about Link. They also suspected that a puppet of Zelda was roaming around, but were unaware that Ganondorf's creation had also used gloom to activate another construct, which then destroyed the rest. All that was needed was a false flag operation, the assassination of King Rauru, which failed, but Ganondorf had more cards to play with. Most of all, the forbidding construct which halted Rauru long enough in the castle for his phantom Zelda to assassinate Queen Sonia.
Halted by Zelda, the Gerudo King took matters into his own fist and stole Sonia's stone and turned into something terrifying. The King of Hyrule was too late as he confronted the Gerudo turned Demon King. He had no other option but to retreat as the Blood Moon summoned the Demon Army.
Demon King Ganondorf sent out 4 Archfiends. Still, there was hope in the Temple of the Secret Stones in the Tanagar Canyon. On the way there, though, Grimgera attempted to eliminate the resistance once and for all, but was instead chased away by the Master Sword construct and Calamo. Safe in Tanagar, Rauru could, upon burying Sonia, plan his counter-offensive. It was then he learned of a different crisis. Grim Turok had attacked Lanayru after the forbidden and corrupted construct had slain the Zora King. Its target was the new Queen Kia. Fortunately, King Rauru and Princess Zelda arrived on time and aided in slaying the Archfiend. Meanwhile, the Master Sword construct and Calamo aided the Rito with Ravnica on the ground and the Gorons with Chief Agriston from above. The latter in turn received further help from Rauru and Zelda. Finally united, Zelda led the trio of allies to Great Hyrule Forest and together with Ravnica defeated Grimgera. The Gerudo were facing the demon army as Ganondorf had turned against his own tribe. Despite being skeptical, Artie ultimately accepted King Rauru's help and was upon the battle elevated to chief of the tribe by her own. She was also given the final envoy mask by the King of Light. During the battle for Gerudo Desert, Zelda fought side by side with the Master Sword Shard construct and finally had proof of her theory. Realizing this, King Rauru accepted Calamo's request for the construct to be knighted, becoming the Knight Construct, the Vessel of Light. Courage that would be tested right away as Ganondorf sent the forbidding construct just for it to retreat and give Rauru some time in Tanagar Canyon with his new knight, a type of construct that could be used for both good and evil. The same nature as the Secret Stones, the last 4 which he then handed out to Agriston, Ardi, Kia, and Rafika. They in turn, with Minoru and Zelda, swore an oath on their lives to serve the King of Light. A pledge that was immediately tested as they repelled the Demon King's forces from Tanagar Canyon. The time had come for the counter-offensive towards Hyrule Castle on the Great Plateau. It was just that on the path, the two remaining Archfiends awaited, Grim Goma in Serra Scablands and Grim Gibdo in the burning Great Hyrule Forest. Both were slain, while the demon army, with Gloomspawn and Phantom Ganon in the depths, were ambushed and cleared out. A tactic that worked out, and was reapplied with the Stormwind Arc, the great gift from the Zonai long ago to the Rito tribe. Minoru, using her great spirit power, piloted the Great Temple of Wind towards the Great Plateau, but Ganondorf had other plans. He revived his archfiends inside Hyrule Castle and sent Grimgera to the Ark, just to be slain again. The entire assembled army of light dropped from their vessel, targeting the Demon King. On their path, they crushed the revived Grim Goma and Grim Torok. The King of Light, with Zelda, then unleashed a beam at Ganondorf, distracting him from the Night Construct. Still, it wasn't enough, and Rauru had no other choice but to stage a feigned retreat, luring the Demon King north. The Demon King of Darkness would have to seek out the King of Light in the depths, the location Princess Zelda time-traveled from in the distant future. Still, defeat was certain unless someone stayed behind to confront the majority of the demon army and the Forbidden Construct. The task fell to the Night Construct. Grim Gibdo attempted to stop them, but to no avail. Rauru with his warriors had set the trap, but would first have to overcome the demon army and Phantom Ganon. For the latter, Rauru and Zelda combined their powers of light and were joined by the spirit of Queen Sonia. Then the time arrived for the Demon King himself. Meanwhile, the Night Construct had reached its breaking point, but stood up again for the final duels against the Forbidden Construct. Vessel of Light against the Vessel of Darkness, fighting it out while the King of Light and the King of Darkness battled for the future of the land above. On said surface, blades clashed until the Forbidden departed for the sky, with the Night Construct chasing him, ultimately catching up and planting his sword deep into the corrupted Zonite armor, grabbing him and smashing him through the floating islands until hitting the surface below. Both raised up once again. This would be it, just as Ganondorf cornered Rauru and his warriors with his gloom. There was no other option for the King of Light but the ultimate sacrifice,
and forced a desperate distraction. A sacrifice and imprisoning act where Rauru took hold of the Demon King's heart and sealed his gloom magic.
In his last words, he made it clear to Ganondorf that he would never rule, as Link awaited him with the Master Sword in the distant future. In the same moment, the Master Sword construct formed a manifestation of said blade and cut down the evil Forbidden Construct. The final act of the Night Construct as the Master Sword shard broke. Calamo reached out to hold hands one last time, but could only touch the Zonite as the construct dismantled into pieces. Witnessing this act of heroism, Calamo made his decision. He would put down his roots with the Gerudo spear right here next to his partner, as the ancient tree limited to the ancient tree stump by the era of the wild.
Previous archaeological investigations discovered a single ancient spear within this decaying tree trunk. It has stirred up spirited discussion among many researchers, but little additional information has been revealed, despite their piqued interest.
King Rauru's reign was at an end, while his sister Minoru, the last living Zonai, was gravely wounded. It was not long after when the decayed Master Sword suddenly time-traveled from Link, and Princess Zelda hatched her plan. realizing that her hero was alive and on his quest, starting from the Great Sky Island. With the blade in her hands, she once again visited Minoru, sharing her intention to stand by Link's side, all through the forbidden act of draconification, a sacrifice which Minoru first opposed, but ultimately approved as she saw no other option for Zelda to deliver the restored Master Sword to Link. Furthermore, the last Zonai agreed to place her spirit in the Purapad so that she could join the hero on the path back to the Demon King. Zelda then approached the sages of wind, fire, water, and lightning with a request: reach out to their successors in the future. Still, she and Minoru would oversee Linalia's work on the stone murals depicting the imprisoning war. At the same time, Minoru ordered the destruction of all records of the forbidden constructs, erasing them and Kalamo from history. Still, the forest around their last battle would stand as evidence of what transpired, and live on with the land itself, as Zelda put it.
Zelda swallowed her stone and turned into the immortal dragon of light. It immediately shed dragon tears throughout Hyrule before disappearing into the clouds. This caused tiny depressions, which the ancient Hylians etched geoglyphs around. The Temple of Time and parts of the Great Plateau, plus a number of smaller, though key structures of the surface, and many of the Shrines of Light, were sent skyward by the 4 remaining sages and hidden behind the Dragon Barrier, all to keep Great Sky Island and the Purapad with Minoru's spirit safe from the Demon King and his followers. Both waited for the day of Link's arrival. Down in the north-central depths, Rauru held Ganondorf imprisoned, waiting for the day Link would turn up with the glowing Master Sword to finish what he started. The next kings of Hyrule erected the second castle of the kingdom above the ceiling point. Later, though, the same dynasty distanced themselves from the extinct Zonai and their technology.
More than 10,000 years prior to the gameplay of the games, Ganondorf managed to unleash calamities. The first one was repelled by the incumbent king, princess, and the first in the open chronology hero. Several calamities followed until the ancient Sheikah took inspiration from the dragon tribe. Realizing that Ganondorf was only sealed but could still accumulate malice rather than gloom, they acted, constructing inferior technology, weaponry, and shrines, complete with monks in case the kingdom would fall to Ganon's calamity. The ancient Sheikah convinced the kings of Hyrule to heed their warning, financed the development of technology, and when the time arrived, appoint 4 champions to their divine beasts, plus a champion who would wield the Master Sword and help Princess Zelda to halt the threat in central Hyrule. They succeeded, though it remains unknown who the swordsman was. Tears of the Kingdom's Shrine completion reward and reaction from Impa and Pura points to the following. The ancient hero was not a full-blood Hylian, but rather a blend of multiple races, Zonai, Hylian, and something else due to the tale of the set. A mystery for sure, which might never be answered. What isn't a mystery is what the King of Hyrule did to the ancient Sheikah, persecuted them, and caused a split into 2, an agricultural faction in Kakariko, and a militaristic and vengeful Yiga clan in Gerudo. The latter swore fealty to the calamity. The Sheikah technology was destroyed or hidden under Hyrule's surface and would not see the light of day until the signs of Calamity Ganon returned 10,000 years later. Upon losing his queen, only 6 years into his daughter Zelda's life, King Rome heeded the prophecy of a fortune teller.
He ordered the excavation of Sheikah artifacts and the appointment of new champions after a new Link had pulled the Master Sword at the age of 12. There were only two issues, the Yiga clan and Zelda, who couldn't unlock her power of light. After Link saved the princess from the former, she began to grow feelings for the chosen knight, but when Calamity Ganon rose its ugly head, all was lost. Learning from his prior mistakes, Ganondorf used the Calamity to corrupt the inferior Sheikah machinery and launched his war against the Hylians. He unleashed blights towards the divine beasts and beam guardians to torch Hyrule Castle, Town, Central Hyrule, and finally Akkala Citadel. Despite the death of Daruk, Mipha, Rivali, and Urbosa, and most of all her father, Zelda couldn't activate her power. That is, until Link's own life was on the line near Fort Hateno. Too little too late, as Link was hurried to the Shrine of Resurrection. Zelda faced her failure by entrusting the Master Sword to the Great Deku Tree and holding a grip on Calamity Ganon for the next 100 years. The time it took Link to heal and realize that the kingdom and 90% of its inhabitants perished on Zelda's 17th birthday. Aided by the voice of Zelda and the spirit of King Rome, Link set out to reclaim his lost memories, liberate the divine beasts and the spirits trapped within them. Guided by Sidon, Riju, Teba, and Yunobo, he succeeded against the Blights and witnessed Master Kogas of the Yiga clan fall into the depths. With the powers of the champions and the shrines of trials, Link pulled the Master Sword for a second time in Karak Forest. With it, he headed to Impa to return to the site of the final memory, the battlefield where he fell. A fact that was also recited by the humble Rito bard, Cass, though it is less certain whether Link upgraded the blade, went through the Champion's Ballad, or faced Monk Maz Koshia. Zelda dropped the Calamity in Hyrule's Castle's Sanctum for Link to finish in the observatory below, a task which became a formality after the champions knocked out half of the mechanical monstrosity's health. Only Dark Beast Ganon stood in their way, but with the bow of light from Zelda, it was over. The princess broke free and crushed Ganondorf's most successful puppet and beast yet. But unknown to her at this stage, the Demon King remained. An interbellum of around 8 years followed, in which Zelda set out to restore and improve what was left of the kingdom. She moved into Link's house and founded a school in Hateno village. It is also noted that she visited Tarrytown, the tribes and families of the fallen champions, and rested, plus shared ideas on how to develop Lorellan village into a resort. These years saw positive changes, and even the construction of another settlement, Lookout Landing, which Purah was in charge of. Here they studied the Zonai. Just for everything to fall apart with the emergence of gloom. A new threat and plague that brought Link and Zelda back to the Great Deku Tree to pull the regenerated Master Sword and head into the depths of Hyrule Castle. The imprisoning chamber where Rauru awaited the Chosen's arrival. But first, Princess Zelda geeked out over the Zonai structures and murals, unaware that her future fate was depicted on the covered section of them, all leading back to the source of everything, the Demon King. Rauru dropped his hand and dropped Zelda his secret stone, leaving Link to confront Ganondorf. It didn't go well. Link's arm was burnt off and health and stamina drained back to his starting point in the Shrine of Resurrection. The Master Sword was crushed, and Link missed Zelda by a few inches as she fell and time traveled with her acquired stone to the distant past. The hero would have fallen to his death if Raru's last mortal remains didn't grab him. Meanwhile, across Hyrule, the upheaval began. Hyrule Castle rose up. Rocks and pieces of land fell down from the sky, crushing parts of Kakariko, and alterations such as caves and chasms to the depths opened. The Blood Moon of the Demon King resurrected his army and even conquered Lorellan Village, which was burned and occupied. Link woke up on Great Sky Island with Raru's arm, where he, upon gaining the Purapad and the power to ascend, fuse, Ultra Hand, and recall at the Temple of Time, heeded the call from Phi. The Master Sword was sent to Zelda in the distant past. The same Zelda who, as the Light Dragon, opened the path to the surface and Lookout Landing. Here, Link learned that someone who looked like the princess had been sighted acting strangely or directly hostile. Plus that, the Rito, Zora, Gorons, and Gerudo were once again plagued. Purah granted Link the paraglider to launch from the Skyview Towers and map Hyrule. Then, to help out Hyrule's allies, and along the way, follow Impa to investigate the mysterious geoglyphs that had also surfaced. Dragon tears and geoglyphs around them, which revealed Zelda's memories from the distant past. These had been detailed by the ancient Hylians in the Forgotten Temple behind the knocked down by the upheaval statue of Goddess Hylia. Not only did he need to investigate the sightings of Princess Zelda, deal with the source of the suffering of the allied tribes, follow Robbie to investigate statues and mines in the depths, but now also locate Zelda's tears and figure out if the Master Sword was still around. It was a lot, but Link knew that the key lay in Raru's arm, to enter his and Sonia's shrines of light, to unite with Taba's son, Tulin, who had the abilities that his father could only dream of. Together, Link and Tulin conquered the Wind Temple, shot down Colgera, and put an end to winter in Rito Village. Tulin became the new Sage of Wind and claimed one of the secret stones. The hero then set off to knock some sense into Marbled Rock roast boss Yunobo, brought him down into the depths of the Fire Temple. There they crushed the Marbled Goma. Yunobo then accepted to become the Sage of Fire, and after granting Link his vow, returned to manage Unoboko, with no more Marbled Rock roast on the menu. Zoro's domain, on the other hand, was plagued by sludge from above, plus sludge-like, which had knocked out King Dorephan and left the monster to Link and Sidon to defeat, which they did, upon which Link opened the path from the ancient Zora waterworks to the water temple in the low-gravity section of the sky. Muktaruk made a stand, but was washed away. Sidon became the Sage of Water after claiming the Water Stone and was crowned as king, and Yona queen after the abdication of his father. Riju was in a deep mess as Gibdus had taken over the desert. Link arrived just in time to repel their attack and then head to the Gerudo chief to the pyramid scheme that was the Lightning Temple. Luckily, Link and Riju came out on top. Riju was no longer just a chief, but also a sage, granting her, just like in Tulin, Yunobo, and King Sidon's cases, one of the secret stones, and handing Link an avatar possessing her power in his rings. The hero had done it, but almost shed a tear himself after witnessing Princess Zelda's sacrifice in the final tear dropped by her. The time to locate the Master's sword had arrived, and it was clear that the Zelda, who kept showing up and then disappearing across the land, was an imposter or disguised Yiga foot soldiers. Link made his way down to the depths where he defeated Master Koga and his vehicles. He then navigated from here to Korok Forest, as the path above had been cursed. But by whom? The true incarnation from hell, Gloom Hands, and behind them, Phantom Ganon. Link dealt with them. The Great Deku Tree then pointed Link to the Master Sword, or he already pulled the blade after locating the final dragon tear. It turned out that the blade of evil's bane was planted in the golden locks of Zelda's light dragon. She had taken care of it all along, and Link had been beaten enough shrines of light to pull it. Link barely made his way back from the Great Sky Island when gloom covered the sky over Hyrule Castle and Lookout Landing, leading to a goose chase after the princess, who kept throwing monsters at Link. She even had the audacity to restore the Sanctum to its prime before Ganondorf finally dropped the Zelda charade and tried once again with Phantom Ganon. Nope. And despite threats following the sage's arrival, he was only delaying what was coming for him. Still, one sage was missing in the lineup, but where? After some help from Paya and Taro and Kakariko, the path led to Faron, prior to reaching Dragonhead. From here, Minoru called Link, and with the head of the construct, directed him to Faron's depths and the construct factory. Link assembled Minoru's spirit, a new body, and used it to crush the one she intended to use, but which got corrupted. The last Zonai informed Link about her and Zelda's lengthy mission, which was almost at its end. Now, the two had only to locate Ganondorf. The hero was back to where the Zonai thread started. One skydive and team up with the sages later against the army of the Demon King, and then the hour of destiny struck. There, he was the shell of what was, but once again became Ganondorf in front of the hero's eyes. The king who wanted to rule all with an iron fist, but never got to. Link pulled the shining and restored Master's sword and prepared for his hardest fight. Ganondorf, however, enjoyed the sensation of dueling once again, transforming into the Demon King. What he wasn't up in the sky about was the arrival of Link's friends and Minoru's construct. He got rid of them, as this was a personal matter between him, Link, and what was left of Rauru. Too bad that our hero bested him with his fusions. The Demon King was at his end, but refused to accept defeat. He swallowed the stolen Zonai stone, turned into the Demon Dragon, and caught Link between his teeth. There, in the sky, the Demon Dragon was hit by the Light Dragon. Link pulled the Master Sword one final time to finish what Zelda and Rauru couldn't in the distant past. Step by step, the hero made his way to the crown and stolen tear and planted the Master Sword unleashing an explosion like Hyrule had never seen before. But what about Zelda? The spirits of King Rauru and Queen Sonia came with the answer. They combined the last of their powers through Link and restored Zelda and Link's original arm. Link had his right arm back, but Princess Zelda was plummeting to the surface. This time her knight, hero, and love skydived after her until he achieved what he couldn't in the depths, caught her hand, and held close as they hit the lake below. Zelda, surprised that she was back to her true self, could finally thank her partner for life of getting rid of all of Hyrule's suffering, the Demon King Ganondorf. Link found Zelda, and the time had come for Mineru's spirit to depart from the Great Sky Island and join her brother and Queen Sonia, all while the remaining new sages swore their lifelong support to the next monarch of Hyrule, Queen Zelda and King Link.